Hey guys, we are back again. Tara Walker, Dev Evangelist back here, and I'm with Chris Munns.
Hey Tara, it's great to be here.
Before we get started, let me say this. I know a lot of you guys were on Twitch like, wait, we ended early before. It's okay, breathe deeply. We're gonna have a recap at the end of the day, probably around 5, where we can take your questions. So if you had questions about the recap of the launch and we had already ended for you, send them on Twitch. We will answer them and talk about more stuff at 5 with a bonus recap. All right, so on to serverless. Woo, woo. So Chris, first of all, introduce yourself to the Twitch audience.
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, my name's Chris Munns. I'm currently senior developer advocate focused on serverless here for Amazon Web Services. Based here in the New York City office, so I'm in my hometown today.
Yeah, you didn't have to go anywhere,
so,
okay.
It was just a short commute for me. And basically what I do is I help work with our customers of all shapes and sizes and kind of the general community that we have around serverless and understanding what serverless is, how to build serverless applications well or the best way that they can, and all the various technologies that we have that make up kind of the serverless space.
You know, I will have to admit, serverless is one of my favorite things to do right now.
Cool.
There's like, if I have to do anything, I'm like, oh, can I do something with serverless in there? So right now I'm really kind of geeking out over serverless.
Good.
That being the case, I know you are here to talk about SAM.
I am, yeah. So SAM, or technically Serverless Application Models,
the official
name for SAM, is something that we launched just shy of a year ago. And what SAM does is it makes it really easy for people to build and launch serverless applications on AWS. And so it is a template-driven tool that allows you to kind of model your application and deploy it. And what we're really excited about is just this past weekend, or just because technically on Friday, we launched a new tool for you to test your serverless applications local on your laptop, which we're calling SAM Local.
SAM Local, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been kind of looking at GitHub, trying to break things. So far you guys are doing good with that. But so, really quickly, for people who have already used SAM, right? What's the difference is going to be in SAM and SAM Local? So a lot of things, people say, well, I can do that in SAM. What's the difference about SAM and SAM Local?
So no real difference in the mechanisms of using SAM. What SAM Local allows you to do is to actually fire up your Lambda function locally on your laptop. So I can test a function that would be behind an API gateway locally. I can also mock and invoke event triggers for functions that would be behind Kinesis streams or DynamoDB streams or S3 notifications. And so from a developer's perspective, we've just made the life cycle of doing dev and test that much shorter based on the ability for you to locally test those functions.
Nice. So this is without being online, without having to deploy the pack. Okay.
Yep, you're on a plane up in the skies and you can locally test and dev your serverless functions.
Okay, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
So are you going to show us how this actually works?
Yeah, let's go through it. So just kind of to recap for people who maybe aren't as familiar with it yet. So again, we have this concept called Serverless Application Models, which stands for SAM. SAM is this lovely little squirrel mascot that we have, which shows up on t-shirts and stickers and all sorts of things.
I'm waiting for my shirt.
If you come to an AWS event, you could hopefully snag an AWS SAM sticker or t-shirt. So again with SAM, basically the idea here is that there is a template-driven model for representing your applications. And you can find everything about this up on GitHub, kind of a small example here of what these templates look like.
And these are main templates for CloudFormation, right?
Yep, so SAM is built on top of CloudFormation. It's basically considered what's called a CloudFormation transform. And so what essentially happens is this little snippet that we have here in GitHub, which is about 10 lines, expands out to represent a function, permissions for it, execution roles, all sorts of good things. So again, it really streamlines what you need to do to build a serverless function. You actually go to a more interesting code sample. Actually, let me show you what we're going to have launched here. So we have a demo you can also find online called SAM Farm. And SAM Farm is kind of a fun demo that we'd like to pull out at different times. What we have here is our fun little squirrel friend Sam bouncing around on your browser. And what this sample allows you to do is basically quickly launch this website. So it's a serverless application. Code lives in S3 and on Lambda behind API Gateway. And so the SAM template for this function is really straightforward. We have a serverless function. You can kind of see that right here. And then we have the event that is mapped to this. So what you've always been able to do since we launched SAM is basically you take this template file, you take your code package, you execute the template file through CloudFormation, you upload the code to S3 so that it can grab that, and then it will make that available for you. What's cool now about SAM Local is that I can actually now test this locally. Okay. So if I go back to this SAM page, what's actually going on behind the scenes here is JavaScript for this page is calling an API gateway.
Is this also running, I know we released like the serverless application websites where you can literally run this through using some of the JavaScript frameworks?
Okay. Yep. So the SAM Farm demo uses JavaScript on the web front end basically to call an API gateway to return a very simple thing. It's the number of squirrels that you want to see bouncing around the screen. So if I go and look at the API endpoint for this, and just go and refresh it, and basically the number 10 is what's returned. Here I have 10 SAMs. So really, like the most basic demo you could think of this. I have an API that returns.
Cool squirrels. Okay.
I have an API that returns a number. It generates a number of little images that bounce around the screen. So all this is up. This is running here, live. Well, let's say that I wanted to go into my code for this, and the code for SAM is really straightforward. And what I want to do is change the count. So right now it's 10, and I want to make it 20. So I can make it 20, and I can save this. And then what I can do is commit my code and upload it to Lambda and go through the whole deployment pipeline. Or what I could do is use SAM Local to actually test and see what this API would return for me. So let's go to a terminal window here. And so same code as I have in my text editor here. And what I'm going to do is call SAM Local.
Isn't it always hard to type when someone's watching? So I'm looking at you like, oh.
Yeah. So basically the AWS SAM Local, so I'm actually running the raw development code version.
Okay,
if you install the NPM package, it's just SAM command line tool. Basically it gives us a number of different capabilities with SAM Local now. So we can run our application locally, we can validate our SAM template, so is it valid, JSON or YAML. Yep. We can also package and deploy this, so we can directly from this command line put that up there. But what I want to do here actually is execute this locally. So what it's going to do is it's going to take my Lambda code, it's going to bundle it up into a Docker container, it's going to execute Docker locally, and because I'm going to run this as a local API, it basically is going to make that available for me on a port that I could hit via curl or via a web browser.
Nice.
So let me go ahead and execute that, and again, I'm going to go back.
So even if you're offline, you get to test as you build your serverless application.
Absolutely. Okay. So here I'm calling SAM Local, the command local start API. I have my template file, and then I have environment variables represented in another file.
Okay.
So I'm going to just go ahead and hit enter. And now, because I've done this recently, it's already downloaded the base Docker image that I need. So it's going to take that, take my code, and make it available. And then what I can go and do is just go to the URL that's provided and get back the same number that I would have gotten now that I've changed it.
Okay.
So I can hit this via curl, and you can see here the number 20 is returned.
Gotcha.
I could go and hit it from a web browser. So previously it was 10. Now it's 20. Okay.
Nice.
So really straightforward. I'm hitting a local, local host IP address, hitting my API endpoint, getting the value. Now what if I wanted to rapidly change this? I can actually just go in here real quick, save it, go ahead, get the new number. So basically you can edit your code on the fly without having to stop and restart that container, hit the API endpoint.
Okay,
and so fun things I could do here is I could totally mess this up somehow, right? Like I could say var SAM count equals dog. This should not be valid.
Yeah,
right?
Okay, good, okay.
So I broke my code. Let's assume it was broken already. Now I'm going to go in back and fix it. I know that there's an issue here.
And this error is coming back from API gateway or the Lambda function?
It's coming back from the local, so it's coming from the local Docker container.
Ah, nice.
And actually, that's a really good point here. One of the things that I could do is I could come in here to the output log from the function, which is exactly like you would see in the AWS console, and see the same logs that would have come out from this.
Nice.
So previously,
and this is locally, I would see those logs.
This is all local. So this is in the terminal window where I had just before started up my function. So here we see when it was 20, and still 20 again when I refreshed it. Then I made it 30, and then I broke it, and so I could see reference error, dog is not defined. So it's not a value right now that it likes.
So I have a test for you.
Okay.
And so I saw Tim Wagner, GM of AWS Service Applications in the speaker room. And I said, hey, I'm talking to Chris later on. And he said, okay, Chris is doing this demo. Tell him to turn off his Wi-Fi and let's see this work.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
We're going to put you on the spot and test this and see.
No, absolutely. I'll turn off my Wi-Fi. And actually, my VPN connection is all angry right now, so you can see here my VPN is
okay, good.
all
We want to
upset,
validate you got it off. Okay.
Well, real quick, let's go back, and so let's change this back to a valid number, and let's just curl again. And actually, what we'll do is we'll bring up the other window so we can kind of in real time see as I call this on localhost. It calls it, and it got back a successful number.
Ah, okay. He said it was going to test you and see if you were ready.
No internet connection. Able to see that my code has no errors. I see the output that would be captured normally from my function.
Okay.
And so this is all good.
Okay. So we have a few questions. So Storm of Dads wants to hear about Lambda at the edge and Lambda on snowballs. Any feedback about that?
Yeah. So right now with SAM and SAM Local, we don't have support for Lambda at the edge yet. And we don't have, because of that, we don't have support for any of the functional testing that you would do with the Snowball devices.
Since he asked the question, will you just really briefly for the guys out there that haven't heard about?
Yeah, awesome. So Lambda at the Edge is a product that I'm obviously pretty excited about here at AWS. Allows you to actually run Lambda functions at CloudFront edge pops or points of presence. And so you can do all sorts of basically like live transformations and all sorts of other things of HTTP requests as they would come into CloudFront CDN to modify requests, to modify headers, to redirect requests to different, different data that you'd like to return from it.
Right.
And so there's just a ton of things you can do with Lambda at the edge. Unfortunately today with SAM Local, we don't have that support. Real quick though, about the SAM Local code base, we actually talk all the way down here at the bottom of it, of kind of the current project status, what we're supporting, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to make that easier to show.
Well, that's a good segue because we had another question that came out. Zoomage wants to know if it works with Go, in Go. Is this where he would check that out and wait for it, or?
Yeah, so we don't have native support in Lambda today for Go. There are other projects out there. There's one called Sparta, which is a pretty cool third-party tool that allows you to deploy Go-based applications inside of Lambda, basically via another language like Shim. So that will work. SAM won't support that today because SAM is basically tied to languages that we do support.
Right.
So Go, you can get it via the Sparta tool, not supported in SAM or SAM Local today.
Okay, it's probably coming. What about Windows? So Zoomage also wants to know, does it run on Windows yet? So I see you have .NET Core, but again, that's not really running on Windows. Will it run on Windows yet?
Nope, so we do not have native Windows support for Lambda today. Okay. .NET Core is the Windows language, if you will, that runs inside of Lambda. It's on the roadmap for SAM Local.
Okay.
So it is supported in normal SAM templates and in normal Lambda functions. For SAM Local, we've got just a little bit of work to do to make it work.
Okay.
But it's definitely something that we're working on.
So he would use just SAM if he wanted to run the Windows.
Yep, to deploy those applications normally inside of Lambda with the related services, you can still use SAM for that.
Okay, but what is coming? Right? Okay, great. What about, so SAM Local is really, really cool. Can you talk about examples of this? Because, people getting started with SAM and trying to write that first template can be daunting. I think it was even daunting for us when we first started. Talk about where people can go to really look at resources of good YAML files, JSON files that are example of deploying SAM. And again, and any differences between what they would write in that YAML for SAM versus SAM Local.
Yeah, so let me turn back on my internet here so I can show a couple things.
Yeah, internet would be good
right now.
So
one thing real quick. So SAM Local just executes your SAM template. So you don't write anything differently with it. Okay. So your existing SAM template will always work. if we go to the SAM repository, we actually have a whole bunch of examples, and we actually have gotten community submissions. We love getting those. So we have basically SAM examples that exist for all of the kind of major use cases of Lambda functions that exist today. So you can kind of dive in here and start working with them. Another really awesome place to go to get started with some of this is AWS CodeStar. So CodeStar is a product that came out, I guess it was back in April maybe, so a couple months ago now. And what you could do with CodeStar is start basically on a project template. So we could go here, and because I care about Lambda, I could select Lambda as the service that I'm basing my compute action on. And then I get a number of pre-built templates. And then actually, within these templates, what it's going to create for me, and I'll go back to an active project that I have here, and I actually just created one earlier here for today. So
nice, for the summit. Okay, great.
So what CodeStar is going to do for you is it's going to create for you a number of things. It's going to create for you a code repository with some base code in it. It's going to create for you a code pipeline that is tied to that repository. It gives you a build action, as we would call it, then also gives you a deploy action using SAM. And so what it's going to do, again, going back to those example templates that we have, is kind of gives you a nice little project in a box that you can start with, so that you're not starting from a blank slate in the sense of like, oh my God, what do I do here?
Right.
And so I could actually now go and look at the code that I get in this. And again, I just created this recently. This is all the blank code that would exist as part of this. Make this a little bit bigger. And so what I can actually go in here and see is my template.yml. This is a SAM template. And this will kind of show me the example here of what is in this.
So if I wanted to get started and I really didn't know where to start, I could start with CodeStar.
Absolutely.
And obviously CodeStar, I feel a little bit warm and fuzzy, so I did write the blog post on CodeStar, so go out there if you've never heard of it. I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
And check out the blog post. I walk through how to use CodeStar. But this is really phenomenal that I can actually go out and look at the code and have a YAML file that I can, look at and muck around with and get everything going. Okay, excellent.
And so basically what you could do is you could start with one of these projects. You could go and download this source code. So actually let me pull up another terminal window here. So the default that I had chose here was I think just a basic JavaScript application, API gateway in front of it. Let me actually go into the code for this one. So let me blow this up a little bit here. Code, Summit. So this is the same code that is represented, again, in my window. So I could do AWS SAM Local. Cool. And now I can actually validate my template. Actually, I think I just do validate.
And this is the template that came right from CodeStar.
Template came right from it. So here it comes back, tells me that it's valid. And then, again, what I could do is I could go ahead and invoke this. So, AWS local start -API. And actually, let me shut down the other one first.
Okay, no worries.
Cool, so that's up and running. I can just go back to the URL that I had open before.
And just to recap before you said, so when you went and took that template from CodeStar, the one you just created, you're now running it local in SAM, and it created a container local for you so that you could run this.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you for making me clarify. So, so what it's done is it's gone and it's taken the code in this repository, it's taken the SAM template file, it's mapped that SAM template file inside of that container such that I can access it over a port.
Nice.
And made that function available for me, just like it would be if it was behind an API gateway, essentially. And so, basically here as we were talking, I very quickly was able to go in this directory, start SAM locally, go ahead, pull up, test the API.
And this is the web application, right?
The web application, yeah. Now this is not rendering any of the static content, which is going to be posted elsewhere if you were running this in production.
Right.
But we could essentially mock this up such that it was happening that way.
So if I'm stuck on a plane, which sometimes I am, as you know, I can literally still work on my serverless applications and test them without having that internet connection. And that's, for me, very powerful. And then it's quick, right? You don't have to deploy and worry about, am I having great Wi-Fi here or whatever? I can literally test my application. Are there any limitations to using SAM to do that? So I wanted to use a robust microservices architecture that calls a bunch of different services. How would I test that, using this from SAM and I'm doing this local?
So let me show you another cool thing about SAM Local here. So one of the things that you can actually do is generate events. So let me go into another window here and just do. Cool. So one of the cool things again that you can do here with SAM is that Lambda functions can be invoked via many different services. I've been demoing it being invoked via an API endpoint. Right. But customers will do things like run Lambda functions based on S3 objects being uploaded, Kinesis streams, DynamoDB streams, SNS messages. So what you can actually do with SAM Local is generate an event and pass it against your function.
Okay.
So in an environment where you were doing many different types of Lambda functions that had different invocation paths, you could actually, while still on the plane, generate and mock up those events to test your function.
Nice.
And now you can actually create your own JSON payload, or you could use kind of the pre-built payloads that we have here for you to test your function and test out its functionality.
And that's nice. And this is all a part of the release of SAM Local, or the beta rather.
Yeah, this is all part of the beta for SAM Local. And so again, we've got, we can do this. See like a mock Kinesis event.
Okay.
You could take this then, change it based on what you might be expecting from your application. You could put this into a file, basically pass that file into the invoke command. And so it basically gives you the ability again to test so many of the various different aspects of your Lambda function.
And I'm doing this without any Wi-Fi.
Any Wi-Fi, any other services. Okay. Other things that you could do, let's assume that you were on Wi-Fi, you were connected to the internet, you still could have your localized running Lambda function talk to other AWS services. So you still could use this to talk to a real true S3 bucket, or talk to a database, talk to a DynamoDB database, or talk to any sort of other service that your function might need to call. And so while it's definitely useful for those offline modes, it can also be utilized for those online modes where your function has a lot of complexity talking to, like you said, maybe other services that you're running, other Lambda functions that you're running.
Third-party APIs.
Third-party APIs, yeah. So it's not walled into your local host. It can talk outbound if the need be.
Excellent. So I'm ready to deploy. Looks like there's nothing for me to do but just take my YAML file that I tested locally and then just use the normal SAM deploy and package. Is that the case?
Yep, absolutely. So again, here in the SAM tool, we basically made available the same commands that you have with the AWS CLI for CloudFormation for package and deploy. And so we could so basically it says it kind of wraps around those commands today. And so what these two commands do, for those who aren't familiar, package actually looks at your SAM file, looks at your code, puts an object up in S3 for that, and then deploy actually then executes that SAM template, referencing that file in S3, puts it up into Lambda, configures the services for you.
I had a quick question about, can you talk a little bit about DynamoDB Local?
Yeah, so there is a local version of DynamoDB that you can run on your laptop, wherever your computer is. You could actually, inside of your application running inside of SAM Local, talk to that local DynamoDB table.
Nice.
And so you really could mock up a lot of that as well. There's actually a really rich community of open source tools around this as well. So there's a tool called DynaLite, a tool called Kinesis Lite, which are actually mocking tools for mocking the interfaces for those services as well.
You should send me those. I'll tweet them out just in case if anyone's interested, the cool tools that they can use around
this. There's a number of different tools that help with further unit testing, integration testing that are out there. And so we do have DynamoDB Local as another tool that the DynamoDB team put out maybe like 2 or so years ago.
Nice.
That your Lambda function could be made to talk to if need be.
Nice, okay, so I'm pretty much set to go when I'm on a plane.
There's a lot you could do.
That is a lot I could do. All right, so as we wrap up, can you tell me the one cool thing? If people are like, okay, I want to get started, if you could give them advice, like what's the one cool thing that could get them started? Is it going to CodeStar?
Yeah.
Is it, hey, let me go in the GitHub repo?
Yep.
So that's the one question. And then the other one I'll throw at you while you're typing is, if I want to build my own YAML and I've done something great here and I want to share it on that repo, How do you guys suggest they get it to you? Do a pull request? Talk about how we can open source. It's on open source, so how can people participate in that?
Absolutely. So a little earlier this year, we launched the landing page for Serverless. We actually recently just updated it with a whole bunch of content.
Nice.
And so if you are new to the serverless space, this is the place to go.
This is the
for
repository.
all sorts of content. Talk about customer stories, talking about various components of the platform. But then I think I'm going to zoom all the way down to the bottom here. I think my favorite thing is that we have reference architectures, we have public code samples, we have links to workshops that you could actually do yourself, either where we are at AWS hosting them, or you could do them from home technically.
Oh, nice.
And so there's a lot of great resources on this serverless landing page. To the second part of your question in terms of, you have a really great SAM template that you want to share. We absolutely will take and look at pull requests for the serverless application model examples, and we're happy to take those pull requests and review them as they come in.
Okay. What about SAM beta? Are you guys ready for pull requests yet, or let it come out of beta first? What's your advice on that?
We're happy for pull requests. We've gotten a few already.
Nice.
It's been awesome. It's I believe it's a trending repo right now on GitHub, so we're pretty excited about that. It's only been a couple days, and so we're happy for pull requests. We're happy for issues. We're happy for people to come out and say, hey, I wanted to do this, and we'll put that into the roadmap and look at kind of things.
Talk about direct interaction with the customers. I love it.
The team behind it is super active, and we'd love the community to be active as well.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure that after this, I'll tweet out the GitHub repo. I'll tweet out those great resources talked about Dynamo Local, as well as the Go resource he talked about. I'll make sure that I tweet out all those things for you. And Chris, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Tara. This has been awesome.
Letting me haze you a little bit with Tim, so thank you. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Take care.